Welcome to the World Art Now podcast, exploring the world through the material culture of its people, in association with Michael Backman Limited.
I'm Michael Backman, and I'm here with Annemarie Jordan, one of the world's leading scholars on the trade in luxury goods from Asia to Europe in the 16th and 17th centuries. Annemarie, I've been such an admirer of your work because one of the things about you is that you are an independent scholar. You're not sort of sheltered within a university or so on. And yet you've had the most remarkable impact, I think, on academia in your area. You're widely published, you're often at conferences and so on, and you're very often contributing to collections of papers when it comes to Indo-Portuguese and the history of the Habsburgs and luxury goods and so on. I just think you're such an inspiration, actually, being a private independent scholar. So you're American, and you now live in Switzerland, but how did you get interested in this whole area of, say, the Habsburgs and luxury goods being imported into Europe in the 16th century? Well, what's the inspiration for all of that?
The inspiration was my dissertation. I knew I wanted to work on court studies, which at that time when I began my dissertation in 1985 at Brown University, it was not an end topic. In the United States at that time, studying art history, everybody was concentrated on the Italian Renaissance. And I knew I wanted to do something else. And I realized that the Portuguese archives, as well as Spanish archives, were still quite underexplored, especially in Lisbon. And I had two opportunities. The first one was a Fulbright to Lisbon for 1 year, and that gave me the opportunity to spread my wings and to navigate in a situation that was not so easy. It was in the early 80s, just after the Portuguese had received their independence or gained their independence in 1974 after 40 years of dictatorship. So the libraries were sparse. There were no publications. There were few scholars working on court studies. So I went toward the archives, and I realized that I was good at looking for, digging for information.
Do you speak Portuguese?
I did speak Portuguese. I had to learn how to read 16th century paleography. So it was a heavy and not easy beginning, but I wanted to branch out and doing things that other people didn't do.
Yes, indeed. Can I ask, so the Portuguese then, is it quite different to the Portuguese today?
Oh, I think that it has developed in the last 35 years since I've been in the field, in a positive way, of course, because younger generations saw also the possibility in their culture and heritage.
Right, but I mean, did the language, so when you go back to those early records, is the language actually quite different? Like Dutch is quite different, I think, for example.
It's just the way the language is written.
Okay,
Quite different. I mean, maybe there were some usages in the 16th century that are no longer current today, but the way the language is written, the first maybe 30 years of the 16th century, the handwriting is different, and then it opens up and becomes more legible and even more script or calligraphic towards the end of the century. There were a lot of possibilities. I saw that one could study different areas of collecting, buying, shopping, and luckily some records have survived. As you know, we lost many records in the Lisbon earthquake of 1755, the ship records and the entire Casa de India, as it is called in Portuguese, the entire paperwork.
Right. Was that a tsunami as well, wasn't it? Or was that? Yes.
Exactly. There was the disastrous earthquake. The epicenter was not Lisbon, it was further south.
Okay, right.
But the tsunami, and then there was a fire as well, coupled with a fire because it was November 1st. And everyone was in church, so it was a triple whammy disaster.
Yes, Yes. So a lot of records were destroyed.
Yes,
and,
many records, but
yes.
we still have some records.
Right. But also, so your interest has really been twofold. It's really been in sort of the court structure and the intermarriages across Europe, and of course the Habsburgs, who basically got their way into many of the royal families, quite extraordinarily, from being based largely in Vienna. Into the Spanish courts and so on. And then also it's the luxury goods that were imported. And
yes.
This is the most fascinating thing, and this is where you've really uncovered some of the most extraordinary objects that, in sort of private collections and so on, and written about them, things that were being produced in India and elsewhere and being brought in the 16th century to Europe. What do you think, out of all of the things you've done, what are you most proud of, and what's your most favourite discovery?
Quite early in my career, my most favorite object is a rock crystal elephant. I believe the rock crystal is from India, but he was then carved in India, older, maybe 15th century or perhaps even older, and the mounts are European. And finding the documents in the Queen's inventory, and Queen Catherine of Austria was a major player at this time, a key person in connecting East and West, because she just developed this passion for exotica.
So she was from Austria, but she ended up marrying to the Spanish court.
She was actually a Spanish infanta.
Yes.
She's the younger sister of Emperor Charles V, and he graciously organized this marriage for her because he decided who married whom, and he put her on the throne of Portugal. At a young age, she was 18 years old. She arrived in Portugal in 1525 and ruled for 50 years. And she would always, in all her correspondence, thank him that he made her the Queen of Portugal. And so through her inventories, thankfully we have a lot of inventories that cover this long range. Some have been lost, but they are very descriptive. And this Indian rock crystal elephant, a reclining, very small.
Yes.
She had a court jeweler in the 1550s, right in the beginning, 1551 or 52. He added medieval elements to it, as well as gold and enamel decoration, but he added a late medieval salt cellar. I'm sure it had a lid on its back. So it's like wearing, as in India, it has a special name, I think.
Like a canopy on top, or
yes.
Like a howdah.
La howdah, exactly.
Right.
And he made tusks, and I found it in the Kunsthistorisches Museum. It survived. So I was able to find the object and match it up with the documents. And that, I was a young grad student. I had not even finished.
And that's so important, because up until that point, they would have assumed it was just a European thing, probably.
I think in Vienna, they didn't even pay attention to it.
Right,
As I told many colleagues of mine, in the old days in Vienna in the 80s, where I'd gone for 1 year to look at archival material there, I found it in an old 19th century vitrine, the bottom shelf, glass shelves, and it was just tucked away in a corner, and no one had ever bothered to look at it. And when I put the small article together with the documents, they realized that I was right, because I'm grateful that in this inventory description, all the weights were given. The weights of the elephant, as well as the decoration. And so the weights jived. And now it has its own special vitrine in the Kunsthistorisches Museum, all by itself.
It's fantastic, because the interest in Kunstsammlers and this sort of cabinet of curiosities has really taken off across Europe. And a lot of the royal families had these, but they weren't documented enough. And now with your work and the work of others, it's really come to the fore. There's been a lot of exhibitions and books and catalogues and so on. And it's some of the most amazing stuff in Europe, because it really is this East-West sort of thing. And I think one of the books that you contributed early on, I think it was published in 1996, is this the heritage of how do you pronounce it?
Raoul Le Chantine.
Yes. Oh, okay.
He was a very famous Goan goldsmith.
Yes.
Who came from Goa to work at the court of Manuel I.
Right. So he was Indian and from Goa, and he was actually based in Lisbon.
That's how the tradition
Right, okay,
says.
okay. And so from there they got, like, I guess, imported sort of Indian sort of
The Portuguese were
techniques.
fascinated by
Yes.
the goldsmith work,
Yes.
the precious stones. It
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
like Ali Baba's cave.
And at that time, really, Lisbon was an absolute epicenter of sort of this sort of trade of importing luxury goods from the East into Europe. It was almost like the clearinghouse for gems and
yes.
ivory and all this sort of stuff before the Dutch got into it.
Well,
And,
the Dutch took over the Portuguese
yes.
trade routes. Without Portugal, the Dutch would never have made their ascendancy
Yes.
in the 17th century. They just don't want to admit that, so they forget that the
Yes.
Portuguese had, for over 100 years,
Yes.
carved the way.
Yes. So you had the
before-
Portuguese, the Dutch, and then, of course, the English.
Of course,
And
yes.
that was the sort of order of succession. And then I guess it's also the case that a lot of these luxury goods then went from Portugal to most of the royal families across Europe, including to Russia and to here in the UK and so
Right.
on.
When Lisbon became really the hub of commercial trade, east-west and overseas, and we're talking also about Africa and South America, Lisbon was like a magnet, and so merchants and dealers and agents came from all over Europe. So we can't forget that Germans were incredibly active in the trade in the 16th century.
right.
They had the money,
Yes.
and they had banks, they had
Yes.
dépendances there. So a lot of things, a lot of objects, animals, precious stones, jewelry, whatever, filtered through these different agencies, if you want to call them. And again, also the Italians, we can't forget the Italians as well. And so the trade was Lisbon, then Antwerp, and then Genoa,
Right, right.
and Seville. There
Right.
were all these trade networks, and Flemish, of course,
Yes.
Flemish merchants as well. So
And you chronicled a lot of this in your fantastic book, The Global City. It's called The Global City on the Streets of Renaissance Lisbon, that you edited with our good friend Kate Lowe, Professor Kate Lowe. And that's where, now tell me about that. It's where you had the most extraordinary painting that you found, and then you identified where it was and what building was what and so on.
it was an incredible project. In December of 2009, Kate Lowe, a very old friend and colleague, sends me 2 digital images and asked me in her email if I knew what this street was. And I literally, it was just like a week before Christmas, and I was preparing my Christmas menus and all this, and I literally fell off my chair
Right.
because
Wow.
I knew what the street was.
Really, you just looked at it and thought, oh gosh,
Well,
I know that street.
Well, I knew it from descriptions, and I thought to myself, it can only be this street. And literally, it was like a wow moment. And one of the reasons why the street was so intriguing, or the paintings were so intriguing, were the number of black people walking up and down the street. And I said to Kate, you realize what this is? And then she said that she had been approached by Dora Thornton, who was then at the British Museum. She was preparing an exhibition then at Shakespeare. And Dora Thornton was somehow involved, I guess on the Board of Trustees, I'm not sure, at the Society of Antiquaries. And Dora Thornton, knew these paintings from Kelmscott Manor. And apparently the Society of Antiquaries had been researching these paintings for a number of years and asking scholars all over Europe what they thought this street was. So the answers were Valladolid, Cadiz, Genoa, all kinds of places.
Right.
And I said to Kate, it's the Rua Nova in Lisbon.
Wow. And so what you've got, like, a lot of merchants and merchant houses and I guess retail establishments, bankers, and they would have been selling these luxury goods from the East. And then, as you mentioned, there are some black people here. So the black people, and it's always interesting to see black people portrayed in Renaissance European paintings. Because we often, when you see them, you often think, oh, they're slaves or something like that. But perhaps they're not in this situation.
Some are freed, probably. Some are slaves. It's very hard to tell. We cannot. We do see in one painting a chained man. His feet and is chained to, I believe, his waist. What was intriguing about the paintings is exposing them, because they had been left in Kelmscott Manor for over 60 years. Dante Gabriele Rossetti, the famous pre-Raphaelite painter, bought the paintings in the 1860s from a dealer in a street in Finsbury that no longer exists. That area was heavily bombed by the Nazis in the Second World War. So we decided that once we got the paintings exposed for the first time, that we would work on the paint, do an entire build-up of Lisbon around these paintings. It was our personal investigation to try to just figure out what these two paintings, which were probably one paint, what it was trying to tell us.
Yes.
Because this city, this street in Lisbon, of course, since the earthquake, was destroyed. And one of the problems with typography and urban studies of 16th century Lisbon is we have hardly any realistic images. Not like you have the famous painting of Cheapside, where the goldsmiths were. I believe that's
Here
in the
London.
museum. Here in London, in the
Indeed.
Museum of London.
Yeah.
Other cities like Frankfurt in the Renaissance, or Florence. All of the paintings you have of Florentine streets. For Lisbon, we had nothing. So this is how the exploration for that book took off. We had a group of younger scholars come on board, which was very important for us. A mixed group from Portuguese and whatever. And we have a good colleague in Lisbon who is just simply an archive rat. And it seems when you're in the volition of swirl of a project, as we were doing this project, 3 inventories of 3 residents on the street turned up.
Oh, wow.
And we had one younger scholar, Hugo Miguel Crespo, who transcribed these difficult notarial inventories into black and white, and we could identify their house. What was interesting is that the documentation that we found matched up with the paintings.
Yes.
So there was just
extraordinary.
Extraordinary. It was
And
just,
to have found it here in the UK, this picture, or this pair of pictures, and then what you did then was to find objects that might have come from around that time and put them in an exhibition, and they're beautifully photographed in this book. I must say the book is very hard to get now, and it's so sought after that quite often when I've seen it for sale, I think when it was first available for sale, it was like, £39 or whatever, $40, $50. Now it can be up to like £500.
I saw 900 the other day.
$900
at Amazon. Right.
Unbelievable.
We printed 2,500 copies, and in a year and a half, they were all sold out.
Oh, yeah.
It was gone.
Oh, God, I've got 2. That must be some of the most valuable things I own. Well, thanks to you.
It took us 5 years
No,
to
don't
do
touch.
this
There's
book.
one between us. Don't touch it, Anne-Marie. I didn't realise it's so valuable. It's in mint condition. Let's leave it like that. Get your hands off your book. Anyway, it's...
We had an adventure writing this book.
Yeah, it's a fantastic book. It's actually one of my favourite books. And I mean that. Not just because you're here in front of me.
Michael's really a compliment. We decided to start with the paintings and then move out, move in and out of the paintings.
It's such a fantastic way of starting a book. Here's a very interesting painting or pair of paintings, and then, as you say, moving out, and then what can we see, and what does that lead us to? And it's just an amazing way of building up something. Yeah, no, it's absolutely wonderful. Is it your favourite book that you've done?
Oh, I'm so proud of this book, and I'm proud of everybody that
it's
contributed.
I know it's won prizes and everything.
It's won a prize, which we're very proud of.
I should say, I remember, just on prizes, you've just been given an honorary doctorate from the University of Lisbon, and that just underscores your importance to this whole area, but also, again, I just think it's a fantastic achievement for an independent scholar who isn't part of, formerly part of any university or whatever, to have been recognised like that. And it just shows, and from my point of view as a dealer where we sell a lot to, private collectors and so on, it shows how important private people are in their endeavours. And we should never forget that, because often there's a lot of pressure from, government-funded museums and government-funded universities and whatever to think that, they're the cream of the crop. But you are actually, showing what someone can do with a passion.
Well, it's a wonderful honor to be recognized by your peers. The award that we got for this, there were so many people who adored the book, and then the subsequent exhibition that we did. And it's a feather in your cap to be recognized, because all this archival work and trying to piece pieces of the puzzle together, it takes a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of thought, and it's extremely exciting. It's a detective work that never ends, and you're always thinking, what's the next thing around the corner?
Yeah, indeed.
And Kate and I were very proud of this book. We're very proud of all the contributors. We have magnificent essays in here, a very extensive appendix with all the documentation. It's a way of starting in English to study Renaissance Lisbon and Renaissance Portugal, because so much is in
that's a very
Spanish
good point.
or Portuguese.
That is a very, very good point, because it's so fascinating, and it's such an important part of world history and such an important part of material culture history. But a lot of it is in Spanish or Portuguese. And not in English. So that's, again, it's something so useful that you've done, is to bring it to a much wider audience, and to let the, I suppose the English speaking world know how important, the Iberian Peninsula was, and particularly Portugal in the 16th century. And what a world power it was. It's interesting. You think, what on earth happened to it since?
Exactly.
But the slide has been quite remarkable.
I must say that I am very proud for Kate, because she is really, among other Portuguese scholars, as an English scholar, she's really a pioneer in bringing the question of blacks in Renaissance Portugal out on a more international level,
yes,
in English, and
yes,
long before issues like that,
yes,
which are so popular now.
You're very right. She was ahead of her time.
We did this research between, we started in 11, the book was published in 15.
2011, 2015, yeah.
2011, 2012, excuse me, we started the research. So Kate's research is, I think, very groundbreaking in just opening new channels of looking at the topic.
Yes, and it's also
even more so than the Portuguese had.
Yes.
Not to say the Portuguese had not studied it. It was just
and again,
turning a spotlight in different directions.
It's this thing of sort of integrating sort of the world economy that we think about globalization now, but of course it was going on then. And when you look at these pictures and you look at what was being traded, and we've got Middle Eastern traders, Arab traders, people from Africa, all that all shown in one picture, and you think, wow, it must have been so diverse and so dynamic at that time, so exciting.
Absolutely. I wish I could go back in time. I wish one of the goals with this book, which I spent almost a year on, was to find out where these paintings had come from. They must have entered the UK during the Napoleonic Wars and upheavals between 1800 and 1840. And I tried to do that research. It's very hard. It's very hard to know where the dealer, his name was George Love, bought these paintings before Dante Gabriel Rossetti bought it from him, thinking that these paintings were by Diego Velázquez, of all people.
Oh, wow.
So it's fascinating. And since then, I keep hoping something will turn up, another painting that looks like this or something, but until now, really nothing. So they're very enigmatic, these paintings. I
think the point you say, how it'd be just so amazing to be able to go back and see what it was like. That is so true. I often think that in my own area of sort of the Malay world and so on, I just wish I could go back and walk around Malacca in the 17th, 16th century, and see what it was like. But of course, what you want also is a guarantee that you can get back to here, as well, not just go there, but also get back. What are you working on now? What's your current big project?
I'm finishing up a book on a very famous Renaissance pearl.
Oh.
Called the Peregrina.
Ah, okay.
It's a famous pearl that was once owned by Elizabeth Taylor.
Oh.
But that's sort of the end of the story of the Peregrina. And over the years doing archival work, I kept a little folder on the Peregrina because the pearl kept popping up in different inventories and papers, and I just focused on the pearl because it was there and always.
Right.
And it's a pearl that was worn by the Spanish queens of Spain for over 200 years before Joseph Napoleon, the brother of Napoleon, stole it in 1813. So this pearl has had this incredible biography, incredible life, incredible journeys until it was sold in 2011 after Elizabeth Taylor died. So
Oh gosh, where is it now? Do you know?
I think probably Qatar, but I don't know.
Yes. Oh, lovely.
But for me, as an archive rat,
Yes.
was the pleasure having found absolutely almost every piece of document
Wow.
and story about the pearl.
This sounds like it could be a fantastic Netflix series, actually.
This is my dream.
Oh, I know. Look, whoever's listening, I tell you what.
This is my dream.
I'll be your agent. We've just for the record, we've just shaken hands. And no, honestly, I'd love to watch this on Netflix. They're about to finish The Crown. They can do this.
I have all the images. All the inventories, a huge appendix where it shows up, and this inventory, that inventory, and
I'm really excited. I just find all of your work is just so exciting, and it's so romantic. Everything you do is so romantic.
I've dedicated the book to Richard Burton because he wanted to write the story of the Peregrina and discusses this in his diary. And the book opens with a photograph of him and Elizabeth Taylor shortly after he gifted her the pearl. He bought it in New York at Park Bernay in February of 1969. But the pearl had actually been here for almost 150 years with an English-Irish family, the Dukes of Abercorn.
Oh, really? Oh, gosh.
So it had been here in the UK until 1968.
Like it's a pendant. It's not an earring. It's
a huge pendant pearl.
Right.
At the time that it was found in 1577, it was one of the largest natural pearls found in a shell, in a tiny shell.
Where did it come from? What sea?
Panama.
Oh, Panama.
Panama.
Right, okay.
I even found all the documents that had confirmed that it really came from Panama.
Gosh.
Because there was always a question of Venezuela,
Right.
Isla Margarita.
Right.
So it's an extraordinary story, an extraordinary pearl.
And when is that book likely to be published?
Next spring.
Okay, next spring, so what month?
Maybe May or June.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Okay, something to look out for.
Yes.
Wonderful.
I've asked, and she wrote a fantastic chapter, the doyen of jewelry, Diana Scarisbrick.
Oh, yes.
She has written a marvelous chapter on pearls in British aristocratic families.
She is one of the world's leading experts on this sort of jewellery,
Yes,
and she's actually from Australia originally.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, I hope that's right, now that I've said that.
Just turned 95.
She is amazing. I remember she came to our gallery and she just...
Powerfrau.
Yeah, extraordinary.
Of all France. So I'm hoping that I can be able to give this book to her in her hands
indeed.
soon.
Yes.
It's been a trek, but I'm very proud of this visual and documentary history because I don't think any Renaissance jewel has had such an impeccable archival string of archival documents attached to it.
I cannot wait. I mean, I've got here a selection of your books. One's called Women, The Art of Power, with various Habsburg queens, and another one on elephants. What's this one? What is it? Celebrity elephants and other exotica in Renaissance Portugal. Oh yes, of course, yeah. I mean, it's just the topics you write about are really fantastic. As I said before, it's just romantic. It's absolutely...
Well,
very transporting.
It's very complimentary. Thank you so much. It's what I call the footnotes in our history. It's topics that people perhaps are not interested in, but they yield all kinds of information. You can tell a story with a document and an image. So
Absolutely.
the
Yeah.
elephant book was a fun project. I wanted to show that not only exotic objects were coming from the Portuguese trade empire, but live animals as well.
That's true. I remember there was actually, yes, they brought this elephant to Lisbon. He
Yes.
didn't last very long, but
One
everyone...
of two important,
Right.
one of several, but
Right.
two of them have a name and a history.
And that was in the
so-
16th century.
Yes.
Extraordinary. Yeah, just extraordinary.
And bringing these animals live from Goa.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, there was, yes, I mean, we should really finish, but I've been working on a book, and there was just an unbelievable amount of trade in elephants around the world. And
Of course there were.
And I think the Kedah princes in Malaya were sending elephants to India
sure
and
they
vice
were.
versa. Yeah, it was
I'm
just,
sure.
you think, just unbelievable the amount
Life
of effort they went
stories
to.
of animals and
Yeah.
peoples and goods. And we
Yes.
think that we're so global today. Well,
Oh, yeah.
the Asian
yeah.
world and the Indian Ocean world, and we're so naive. They were so global way before the Portuguese even made their way there.
Exactly, they were so global, and they were doing
Exactly.
it in tiny, tiny wooden ships without maritime insurance.
Right, little nutshells.
Absolutely. Yep.
The space capsules of the medieval and Renaissance periods.
Just extraordinary. So, just like you and your work, actually, I have to say, I think what you do
Michael,
is extraordinary.
Wonderful to have a fan club.
Well, yeah, I'm absolutely the head of it. I can tell you, I love your work, and it's valuable. It's really important, and it's so evocative. And I
Thank you.
can't wait for all of your future books. Thanks so much for talking.
Thank you so much for inviting me for this podcast. It was a pleasure.
You have been listening to the World Art Now podcast in association with Michael Backman Limited. To hear more, visit worldartnow.com.